Welcome to Retirement with Jim. So today we're going to talk about sacrifice. What kind of sacrifices are you willing to make for a better future? So before we get started, if you like my content, please hit the like and subscribe button and feel free to leave me comments. Love to hear from you. So, sacrifices. What are you willing to sacrifice now for the future you want in your retirement? Honestly, no one ever likes to talk about sacrifice, but sacrifice is something you really have to do, especially if you're going to be on a modest and moderate income. So if you don't have millions of dollars saved, then you don't have to worry about sacrifice because you don't have to make any. You got tons of money. But let's be realistic. Most of us aren't in that boat. We don't have millions of dollars. So it's important for us to kind of know how we put our priorities together and what's really truly important to us and what are we willing to do without for the sake of long-term future and a better future, one that you'll be able to, still live comfortably in and be okay with once you retire. For instance, for me, I love boating. I had a boat. Um, Now, originally, when I owned the boat, I lived in the Midwest, which meant I could only really use that boat, probably 3 months out of the year, realistically. Um, so at some point, I knew that it was not going to be, that viable of a thing. It would be a toy that I would just keep pumping money into, whether it would be maintenance, upkeep, registration, things of that sort, storage when and not in the when it's in the winter months, those things. So it's costing you money. So at some point, I had to assess it's time to move on from this, and I was lucky. I bought the boat used and got a great price for it. I was getting divorced, had to get rid of it. And so when I sold it for almost what I bought it for. So when I think about how long I had it, then it really was kind of a plus. But it was still a decision to make that, I had to say to myself, I'm going to have to do without. And I love the boat, didn't want to give it up. So it brings the question, how many toys do some of you have? Besides boats, motorcycles, ATVs, snowmobiles, jet skis. Now, I get probably out of all of those, motorcycles might be the most useful because it's very economical transportation. But in today's roads, you got to really be careful. I always worry about the motorcycle drivers. Some of them are really good and careful, and there's a little bit reckless, especially the younger ones. But man, it's something to be concerned about. But it's out of all those toys, probably the most useful. But the rest of them, not so much. They're just simply toys that we love and we enjoy. So you got to say to yourself, what are you willing to do without? And toys is only one aspect of what you may give up. My wife and I, we had a larger home, a big in-ground pool. When it came time, it was, especially when the kids were gone, it made perfect sense to downsize. Did we want to get rid of the house? No, we really loved it, quite honestly. Loved the fact that we just go out the back door and get into the pool and just enjoy it. Go there for a midnight swim in the middle of summer. It was just wonderful. But it was one of those things that once again, it was time to downsize and get rid of. So a lot of times we talk about getting rid of stuff or downsizing. We don't necessarily look at it as a sacrifice. But the fact is, in many cases, they are sacrifices. So you have to say to yourself, what are you going to do now, to sacrifice for that future? Now, they could be small little things, just taking a look at making a serious budget and And then seeing, for instance, how much money you spend on eating out. Go for a month, run a tab on what you do and what you're spending. You might not even think about it. And if you actually focus on it, you might be amazed. You might know exactly what it is. But in some cases, we get so used to our routine, we suddenly don't realize how much money we're spending. So, it comes down to then looking at that and going, okay, can I cut back some? Don't have to give it up completely, but seriously cut it back. Fast food is not cheap food anymore. That has changed dramatically. With inflation and everything else, the cost of food has skyrocketed. So something that is a fundamental part of our lives has become a costly part of our lives. So something to think about. Where else do you spend money that, in terms of maybe going out, activities you do? Are you doing activities that might cost you money where you can do some of those activities to some lesser degree on a basis that might be free? Going to parks, hiking and walking in trails that, that are free. Not going to places that, that they're costing you any kind of money. So, when you budget, you have a better idea of where you're spending your money. That budget, of course, gives you an idea how much money you have, how much money you have to spend, and where are you spending it, so that you pay for all of the things you need to, all the absolute, necessities. But then, the extra, where are you doing it, for maybe experiences, things you do, vacations. How often do you go on vacation? Can you trim that back a bit? Can you make trips that are closer, maybe more closer to home and cost you less, still get out and get to enjoy things? So sacrifice is something that no one wants to do. They just don't. But I got to tell you, if you're going to be successful in retirement, you need to start making some of those sacrifices now when you're younger, because it will become more of your habits. You'll be more disciplined. And in the end, you'll be happier for it because it will make for a much more successful retirement. So think about the sacrifices you can make now, how you can save money, what you really can do without, and then put a plan in place and start doing it. Do it slowly. You don't have to do everything all at once, but if you start slowly prioritizing where you can save money and where you can make those sacrifices, you will be surprised, because in the end, you will be much more thankful for it, because your retirement will be so much more enjoyable. So with that, I will see you in the next one.